Hello and welcome. Today's video is going to be pretty simple. I don't really have anything planned as to what I wanted to do, so instead I figured I would do a little bit of a showcase of what I've been working on by doing a Let's Play with some developer commentary. I've been working on Thrall now since early February, and I'm actually really happy with how much progress I've made. Without further ado, let's kind of jump in. I'm just going to start a new game. With this, I'm not going to actually showcase any dialogue. I'm not going to read any lines. I'm actually just going to skip most of the dialogue. If you're interested in what the dialogue is for like the story and stuff, you can try the demo out. It's available to download and it's free. And when the game is fully released, it will be free as well. But I will give commentary on some of the systems and some of the things that I've worked on as they come up. So, for example, this here, you can actually enable the tutorials right at the start. And the way I actually did the tutorials, I remodeled them earlier today by making them a little bit more reactive so that they actually show up as things happen in the game, as opposed to just giving a massive info dump at the start and expecting the player to remember everything. So as those tutorials come up, I'll kind of show you what I mean and maybe give a bit of insight as to how I made that work. Input type, I'm using a keyboard, so I'll do that. And all that will do is change the prompts on screen as to what buttons do what actions. We're not going to bother watching the introduction because, again, I'm going to be mostly just skipping dialogue and story. And so we basically start off right here at the Hollow Keep, and the objective here is to clear out the keep full of thralls. So first thing you're prompted to do is actually check out the skill trees and unlock some skills. Every character has their own set of skill trees. They have 3 different branches, and they have their action skills at the top. You can unlock the action skills immediately, and every character starts with 1 skill point that you can spend right away on a tier 1 skill. In order to unlock the next tier, you have to at least unlock at least 1 skill of the previous tier. And each skill tree is actually structured in a bit of a unique way. So for example, the left tree for every character focuses on a weapon proficiency of some kind, and then it kind of branches out from there. So for Brutus, he gets proficiency with axes, and then this tree focuses on his fury skill, which every time he lands a hit, it stacks fury, and then every stack increases his damage but decreases his accuracy, and then later skills will allow him to rectify the accuracy loss. So that's the weapon tree. The middle tree is focused on action skills. So for example, with Mel, she gets these elemental attacks that are basically just spells. They're called bursts. And her center tree focuses on improving the usefulness of burst. So increased damage, health absorption, changing it so that it targets all enemies, things like that. For Brutus, he gets rage, which lets him attack uncontrollably, and gives him a damage and dex buff, and he'll get things like using it at low health will fully heal him, and if he's killed while it's active, he'll survive the attack, but rage will end, and his capstone lets him keep control of his actions. So the left tree focuses on a weapon proficiency of some kind, center tree focuses on action skills, and then the right tree focuses on a passive ability based on the class. So Mel gets a lot of bonus resistance and resistance to elements and status ailments, whereas Brutus is kind of the opposite. He actually gets buffs when he's affected by status ailments, specifically burning. So for example, when he's afflicted by burning, he has a chance to ignore all damage, or his weapon will light on fire, and he gets fire element with all his attacks. So this is kind of a chance at the start of the game to kind of see what each character's skill trees are like, unlock the skills, and just spend a point or two. I'm thinking I'm going to go with Burst, focusing on Burst with Mel, and for Brutus I'm going to focus on Rage. And while we're here, we'll just kind of take a look at some of the menu options. So you start the game off with a couple of healing items. No extra weapons or armors, but you can kind of see some of the different things you can do in the menu. The equip screen, everybody's got just very basic generic gear, all at level 1. It all sells for 1 gold. The idea with this is you replace it as soon as possible. And I'll kind of go into the UI with some of this stuff later on as well. As for the settings, we got background volume, sound effect volume, background sounds, total volume control. There's a difficulty slider here, so the higher the difficulty, the tougher the enemies will be, but also the more likely it is that they'll drop higher quality loot, and the higher their drop rate will be. You also get bonus experience at higher difficulties. However, if you lower the difficulty, obviously, the enemy stats decrease and so do their drop rates, but the game actually will track how low your lowest difficulty setting is. So if you lower the difficulty below the default 50%, the game will record that, and even if you bump it back up again, say you lower it for one tough fight and then you bump the difficulty back up, the game will know that you lowered the difficulty, and it will keep track of what the lowest difficulty you've used is, even if you just set it and then immediately reset it before getting into a fight. And the reason for this is because I plan on, at the end game, showing some player stats of your playthrough, including what the lowest and highest difficulty was that you played the game at. And if the lowest difficulty is below a certain threshold, it may block off certain extra content. So there is an incentive to complete the game without lowering the difficulty, and instead maybe increasing it. And instead of lowering the difficulty to get through a tough segment, instead focusing on like, okay, how can I get some better gear? How can I maybe respec my characters? Things like that. You get ATB control for the speed and the mode. I'm just going to leave it to the default for now. Auto kill is an interesting feature. It makes it so that if you are in a dungeon where you're over leveled, you can trigger this and turn it on, and any touch encounter that you get into will just instantly defeat the enemy. You don't get any loot or experience, but it's a way for you to clear under-leveled dungeons without needing to actually get into a whole bunch of encounters, which is especially useful if you're doing like a side mission that sends you to a dungeon you've already cleared before. Auto dash, pretty explanatory. Colorblind mode, this one's a little bit interesting. This one changes the text color, so you can see where it says volume settings, battle settings, map settings. If I turn this on, it sets it to white, and the reason for that is just to give a little bit better contrast between the backgrounds and the text. And what it does, because equipment and items have rarity based on the color of their text, everything turns white, but then it actually changes the name of the item that you're grabbing and puts a symbol next to it, a text symbol, to indicate that item's rarity. In addition, it will actually also change some system colors. So for example, you can see the health bars are red, but with colorblind mode, if you turn it on, the health bars turn like a pale bluish white, again for added contrast. I am not colorblind myself, obviously, so I don't actually know how effective of a method this is, but the way that I tested this is by actually going into my graphics settings and removing the saturation on my PC while testing it, and it seems to work. But at the same time, I would love to get some feedback from someone who maybe is colorblind, if you would be interested in playing a demo and providing some feedback as to how effective that mode actually is and whether or not it accomplishes what it sets out to do. And then at the bottom is the input type, which we've already gone to. That just shows, you can see at the bottom left there, the button prompts that shows what different actions do. So that's basically our menu here. And yeah, let's just jump into the game. So let's start by talking to this Thrall. Again, we're going to cruise through this dialogue. Now this is what I wanted to talk about with those kind of reactive tutorials. When the battle starts here, a tutorial is going to start, but all it's going to mention is the very, very basics. So, ATB gauges will fill automatically, and when they're full, you can take an action. And then it talks about this here. So, action skills. There's no MP in this game. This is a turn-based RPG, but it does not have mana or MP. Instead, all skills have a cooldown. Every character just kind of gets their one primary skill, but then there are other skills, and I'll kind of go into what those are when we come across them. And if the cursor that is selecting that character is shaped like that star, that action skill is ready to use. And when it is used, it will go on a cooldown, and the timer will appear next to it, indicating how many turns need to pass before it can be used again. And every action, whether it's an attack, a defend, using an item, whatever, counts as one turn. And then when the skills are on cooldown, or just can't really be used, the cursor will change to an arrow shape instead. That was another thing that was prompted by the colorblind mode. It used to be that the cursor was shaped like this arrow, but it would change color. and then with colorblind mode, it would just change shape. And then I realized that the shape-changing cursors were actually just a little bit clearer and easier to understand regardless of, colorblind or not, didn't really matter. And so I switched the UI to make it so that it was actually focused on that instead. And now the cursors just don't change color unless you're selecting a ally for a skill or an enemy as a target, but in that case it doesn't really matter. Although selecting an enemy, the cursor will also change shape based on that enemy's weakness, and I'll show you what that means, what that's like when we get to the first boss fight. And then escaping, yeah, just press and hold the key. That's all there is. So let's start by triggering Brutus's Rage. He'll change color a little bit, and then I'm going to lose all control of actions with him. So he's going to... Oh, that guy's got an ice weapon, so we will take him out first, and we'll use one of Mel's skills for this. We'll use a Fire Burst. There we go. And Brutus is just going to, yeah, one-shot that guy. He's pretty fast, pretty strong, but we have no control over his actions right now. Now this is interesting. The very first enemy you kill in this dungeon will always be guaranteed to drop loot. And the reason is because it gives me the ability to bring up a tutorial for loot tables. It's actually kind of interesting as well, because one of the items that dropped is an ice weapon. You'll get to see 2 tutorials here, but we're just going to take everything that was dropped. But yeah, first enemy you kill, no matter where it is in the keep, will always drop loot, and then after that it sets a flag to make it so that they only drop loot based on their drop rates. And so he says it looks like he was carrying some decent stuff, and boom, here we go. Triggers the loot table tutorial. We don't have to really go into detail about that, but that's really all it is there. And because we found an ice weapon, there's a parallel process event that's going on in the background that checks to see what items you have in your inventory, and if any of the weapons have the ice element. And if it does, this tutorial prompt will show up, and it says you found an ice weapon. They deal increased damage to fire-based enemies and have a chance to inflict freeze status on hit, which when inflicted they're immobilized and unable to act. Now, how I managed to make that tutorial is actually pretty interesting, and I'll just kind of explain here. So there's a parallel process event going on in the background right now, and there is a variable that at the start of the game I set to, you know what, I can actually show you because I'm in the editor. I can open up the debug menu. So there is a variable way down here called passive tutorials. At the start of the game, I set it to 1111. And the way that I'm making this system work is that in this one parallel process common event, as long as the tutorial switch is on, it is constantly checking to see, do you have, out of all of your items, are any of them containing this element? And if it is, then it also checks to make sure if the individual digits within this variable are equal to a certain number. And the way I did that was by taking the value of this variable, converting it to a string, splitting it into its individual letters, since it's a string now, not a number, and then comparing that to the value that I need to compare it to. So right now it's checking the second letter in the string 1311 to see if it's equal to 3. And if it does, then it runs that whole line of code. And once all the active and passive tutorials are done, it turns off the switch that actually triggers that parallel process. So with that, I was able to actually just use one variable to check for all 4 elemental weapons to see if you have them to trigger that tutorial prompt. Anyway, there's a few chests that are scattered around at the start, so let's see what we got. And here we go, we got a fire sword, so we'll be able to see that tutorial as well. And a couple new things here, we'll take those. And yeah, he found a fire weapon. They deal increased damage to ice-based weapon enemies. They have a chance to inflict burn status, which deals damage over time and reduces accuracy. So let's see how that sword is. It's decent accuracy. The dex and the damage isn't as good though. That katana's good though. Yeah, let's give Brutus the katana. Now for the cooling shield, that gives bonus cooldown, which means when you use your action skill, the cooldown will be reduced by 3 turns. So I'm going to give that to Mel. She uses her action skills a lot more. Although, you know what, maybe I shouldn't, because Mel has an overdrive that makes that almost unnecessary right now. And you'll see what I mean when we get to that as well. So let's kill a couple more enemies, gain some more levels. Nice. And yeah, as you can see, there's a timer right next to the fire burst there. So I've got 29 turns before I can use it again. Let's just use an ice burst. And everyone's level 2, which means I'm going to open up another chest. These chests at the start of the game, there's 3 of them scattered in each area, and they all scale to the level of the party when you open them. So it's a good idea to open a chest after gaining each level to get level 2 gear. And we've got a couple armors, so let's see what we can do with that. I'll give Mel that buckler. Let's give her the hat, and I'll give Brutus the headband. Yeah, that's good. And let's keep going. He's got a fire sword and a fire spear. Okay. I'll use a shock burst on 1. Hopefully Brutus doesn't miss. He is on fire though, so yeah, his accuracy is pretty low. Enemies can use items that heal them, and this is actually the only place where MP actually is factored in, because enemies don't have skills that use MP, but instead I've made it so that MP actually tracks their item inventory. So if an enemy has 3 MP, using an item will cost 1 MP, and basically they have a set of items that they can use as many times as they have MP. Okay, so now Mel has filled her overdrive gauge, as you can see down here, and we got a tutorial prompt. This is another one of those reactive tutorials that shows up as things happen instead of just explaining it all at the very start of the first battle tutorial. The overdrive gauge is now full, and when they have full overdrive gauge, it turns iridescent. I actually found a way to animate this, which was pretty cool. It's actually just cycling through a series of images out of a sprite sheet that's about 10 images long, and then it updates constantly, and it was actually kind of cool how I was able to figure that out. But anyway, the character gains access to new and powerful skills. Some of these skills are determined by the class of the character, and some are determined by the equipped weapon. So when you equip a weapon that is white or green rarity, you get access to a tier 1 overdrive skill based on the type of weapon, so sword, spear, axe, blunt weapon, or a dagger. And then blue and purple weapons get a tier 2 overdrive, and legendary and mythic weapons get their tier 3 overdrives. Or sorry, epic, legendary, and mythic weapons. Hold on, wait. Common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, mythic. I think I'm missing some. Yeah, no, legendary and mythic get tier 3. Rare and epic get tier 2. However, classes have their own unique overdrives as well. This is something that I added with the last update. Using these skills to deplete the overdrive gauge, and unlike action skills, they do not have cooldown, but can only be used when the overdrive gauge is full, which means even if an action skill has a 30-turn cooldown, if you can fill your overdrive gauge in less than 30 turns, you can use your overdrives more frequently than you can your action skills. And there are ways of doing that. Basically, your gauge will fill anytime you either take an action, take damage, or hit an enemy. So we will see. Now here's what I mean. Here's a weapon skill, and then a class skill. And this is why I did not give Mel that cooldown shield, because although all these skills still have close to about 20 turns or so to cool down, instead I'm going to use Invigorate, which instantly recharges all action skills on one target. And I'm going to just use that on Mel. And then at the start of the next battle, she will have all her action skills ready to go. She's got them ready now, but Brutus was going to finish them off, so that was the end of it there. And there we go. We've got our action skills back. Mel is really good to give cooldown armors to, but also Invigorate kind of makes it so that she doesn't need them. But she can use it on other allies as well, which means that it would still be handy in certain circumstances. At any rate, Mel and Brutus have a bit of an argument here, and they move on. We're still only level 2, so I'm not going to open that chest yet. Let's defeat one more Thrall, and then we'll get some better gear. Let's do an Ice Burst on this guy. Brutus can finish off the other one, hopefully. Yeah, Mel moves first, so Brutus should... Now, Brutus's rage wore off, so we'll have to trigger that again, but it is going to be on cooldown now. Alright, they're level 3, so let's open this chest. Scimitar, Insulated Cape, and a Weak Herb. Alright, let's see what we can give Brutus. That scimitar does more damage, only slightly less dex, but that accuracy's... Actually, it's only 1 less. Yeah, we'll give him that. Okay, now I also need to decide who I'm going to leave behind. I might leave Brutus behind, so I'm not going to give him all the good stuff. I'll give Mel this insulated cape. It's got some ice resist, better stats. That'll be good. And I just realized I've been neglecting their skills. Actually, I guess not, because I just got them. We've got 2 skill points now, so we can unlock a tier 2 skill. Let's go Irresistible. Increase the chance of applying statuses with Burst. And then for Brutus, Retaliate. 10% Thorns damage while Rage is active. So Thorns, I've had some people ask, like, what is this? If you've never played Diablo, I can understand it's maybe not that clear. Thorns damage is that when an enemy hits you, they will get damaged as well. So 10% Thorns damage means that if an enemy hits Brutus and does 100 damage, that enemy will take 10 damage. And there's ways to get Thorns damage pretty darn high. Like Retaliate gives 10%. I think there's another skill. Yeah, tier 1 skill even, Infernal. 10% Thorns damage while burning. So if Brutus is raged and burning, which is pretty easy to do because there's even a skill that applies burn status when he rages, and he's got an additional 4 pieces of armor that have a Thorns accessory. That's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60% Thorns. And there's even one particular armor that grants 20% Thorns, so you could get as high as 70% Thorns damage. And if an enemy hits you for 100 damage, they'll take 70. That actually works especially well with Brutus because he's got another skill, where Rage is active, enemies will target him more. So Thorns builds can actually work. They're not super overpowered, but they are viable. But anyway, let's clear out the rest of this keep. And, do I want a kamikaze? Why not? Let's just do it. Let's use Brutus's character-specific one. Boom, boom. Just blow them both up, but he leaves himself with 1 HP. Which sounds useless until you realize, first off, I'm just going to heal him up just for a little bit. It sounds useless until you realize that he's got this skill. Using Rage at 30% HP or less will fully restore HP. So if he uses Kamikaze, and he's got Numb unlocked, and he's got Rage ready to use, it's cooled down, then he can start the next battle just by raging immediately and fully healing him. But he doesn't right now, and oh shoot. It's okay, I'm probably leaving him behind anyway. I wasn't expecting the critical hit, but it's okay if he doesn't get as much XP. It's kind of interesting, actually, when you... This is a good time to show this. When you lose an ally in a battle, at the start of the battle, they'll get back up on their feet. And the reason for this is because there's not a lot of healing skills in this game. There's one, but it's not a revival skill. And healing items, while are fairly common, revival items are not. So revival items are basically just meant for use in battle, whereas healing items can be used anytime. I'm not even going to heal him, just because I want to save my healers, and he's not. I think we're going to leave Brutus behind for this one. Oh. Do I risk taking 2 hits? Yeah, let's just do it. Oh, is she going to... Oh, perfect. Okay. One of them didn't attack, which means I get a free shot. There we go. Oh, no! Oh, I didn't realize she had an ice weapon. I should have known that. Oh, I'm screwed. Okay, wow. I haven't failed the tutorial in a long time. But this is a good chance to actually test to see if it worked. You just kind of respawn back at the entrance to the keep. You don't lose anything, and you're fully healed. So this is a tutorial. You're not meant to lose, so it's not punishing. But man, that was embarrassing. All right, and skills are cooled down, so we can just kind of clear this out. There isn't really any way to skip this part of the game. You can skip the intro cutscene, and you can disable the tutorial system messages. but this is something that you do actually have to do with each playthrough. I've thought about finding ways to exclude it, and I'm not sure how I want to do that. I'll find a way, I'm sure, but for now, it's just kind of mandatory. Anyway, okay, now we're inside the keep, and we have control of Lionel and Damien. So Lionel is our healer. He mostly focuses on healing himself with aura, as well as some of his skills in his paladin tree, where he gets HP regen. But he's got one skill where aura immediately heals 30% of his max HP, and then his capstone lets him use it on allies as well as himself if he chooses to. And he's also got a skill on his paladin tree where he shares half of his HP regen to all his allies. And because armors can give HP regen, if you max out Lionel's HP regen as much as possible, it turns into a really viable way to keep every ally in good health without needing to give every ally regen. Although you can double up on allies and give them regen as well. Damien, on the other hand, is our hunter, and he's more stealth-based. I actually found a way to add a stealth-based skill in a turn-based RPG. I'm very happy about that. So this skill, stalking, will remove him from the targeting priority. And what that means is that if an enemy is trying to target you in battle, they can't. They can't target you. If an enemy has an action already queued and they're targeting you, and then you trigger stalking before that action goes through, the action will fail. It just completely conceals him, which on its own is cool, but not that useful until you pair it with a bunch of the skills in his stalker tree, which make him just a beast. So we're going to focus on that tree. We're going to put a point into Savage, make his first attack when he enters stalking deal more damage. Stalking ends when you attack an enemy, so it's just good for one attack. We'll just focus on action skill trees for this Let's Play here. And yeah, we'll just increase the potency of aura to 3% instead of 2. We do keep all our gear, so let's see if we can give some better stuff. Let's give Lionel the katana. Well, no, I kind of want to give that to Damien, honestly. Give him this fire sword for now. Damien can have a katana. Lionel can have the hatchet. You know what? Lionel's going to get something much better right away here, so we're not going to focus on it too much. Everyone's got their action skills. Okay, we're good to go. Let's start in here, and I'm actually going to start by opening this chest, where we find our first rare weapon and our first unique weapon. So if you've ever played the Borderlands series, you know there's items that sometimes have red text. This game has them too. Which, in case it's not obvious, loot in this game is completely randomly generated. I'm planning on making a video of explaining how that works, but it's taking time to really figure out how I want that video to go. But anyway, we found our first blue unique weapon, and this is the Divine Chastaful, which, if you're a fan of the Seven Deadly Sins series, you would recognize that name. This is based on the Spirit Sphere Chastaful from Seven Deadly Sins, the signature weapon of, or the divine treasure of King, Harlequin. And the whole thing with that spear in the series was that it's a shape-shifting weapon that can take on many different forms, and that's kind of factored into this weapon's special effect. So if a weapon has a red text, it has an unlisted special effect. And for the Chastaful, there's also a little tutorial prompt here saying like blah blah blah, rare and unique weapons. For the Chastaful, although its stats are listed as 0 damage and 0 dex, it actually gets its damage and dex stat from the character's level, which means that this is a weapon that will grow with the user, and so you will always have at least one weapon that's decent. It does get outpaced fairly quickly by some of the other loot that you'll find, but if you're really struggling, you can use this for the entire game if you really want to. I don't recommend it. This is not it's not exactly a top tier weapon, but you know what? If you need to, you can. Thing is, it's always fixed stats. It's always going to have 90 accuracy, no crit. It's not going to have an element. It's not going to have an accessory. It's just a basic weapon, and because it's a spear, nobody gets proficiency with it, which means that anybody can use it evenly. I will show you a little bit of an Easter egg after we kill our first Thrall group inside the thing here. We don't need to trigger Aura because we have good health. Let's trigger Stalking. Let's see if this, so let's see if either of these guys attack Damien. Yep. Yep, so they both tried to attack Damien, but because he triggered Stalking while they were targeting him, both their attacks failed. And as long as Damien isn't stalking, they can't hit him. But as soon as he attacks, it will end stalking. Here's a little tutorial message talking about some of the chests inside the keep, yada yada yada. Oh, I should kind of maybe talk about this. So these storage chests are actually something that they're not common to RPG Maker games. This is something that you can actually stash weapons and armor that you found, and then come back and retrieve it whenever you want. It's great for if you want to collect some, really good high tier gear, or maybe, you just want to store some stuff and then sell it later. But yeah, these storage chests are something that I actually coded as well as a kind of a happy accident of creating the loot system. And this is the Easter egg I wanted to show you. So this is the Holy RMN, which is probably the only legendary weapon we'll see in this run. Maybe, maybe not. It actually has the same effect as the Chastful, except it gets a slightly higher damage stat when equipped. It also has 5% crit and a fast accessory, so it always starts the battle with a full ATB gauge. And it's a sword, which means Lionel could actually get proficiency with it. This was meant to be a promotional item for like the first week that this game is available. When it gets downloaded, this weapon will be in this chest, and anybody who downloads the game will get 1 copy of this weapon, only for the first week that the game is actually available to download. So it's going to be a very limited run, and this weapon cannot generate naturally in the game. It does not exist anywhere in the game's files. It was something that I actually imported into the game and exists in a separate file, which I'm not going to say where or how that all works, but this is an interesting weapon because it cannot naturally generate in the game unless it is actually in the game's files when you unless it's actually in this locker, which is the only way it can generate actually, is if it's in the locker. Unless it is in this locker when you download the game, you can't find it in any loot source. But as a legendary weapon, it actually does still work. We're not going to use it this time though. Just kind of keep things consistent to what you can find in the demo. Okay, we've hit level 2, so let's see if we can find a chest. Oh, there's a Thrall there. In case you're wondering why we're fighting, elderly women and young girls, it's because these are thralls. They are slaves of vampires. Vampires have overrun the fort, and they are enslaving people and using them to fight for them. It's not because we're beating up women. That's not, I don't condone that. That's just chill. Okay, Cloak, Ice Bomb, and Fierce Hatchet. That might actually be better. Barely. Yeah, but it is better. That's some really good evasion. Let's give Damien that Cloak. He gets some good evasion bonuses, so the more the better. Yes, so Lionel's skill allows him to negate all outside damage, which basically means anything that enemies would inflict on the allies. Things that it does negate are things like recoil damage from certain weapons, or Brutus's kamikaze that leaves him with 1 health, things like that. So any outside damage. Let's use Penetrate though. Let's take out one of the Thralls nice and easy. And Theft is Damien's class Overdrive, which deals increased damage and guarantees an enemy drop. And as you can see, looks like an enemy was going to drop an item anyway, but we got 2. That Fierce Katana, I wonder how that is. It's stronger, but it's also level 3, so I can't equip it right now. Was there another thing that we got? We got 2 things. maybe just the sword? I think it was just the sword. That is a nice sword, though. Let's use that for now. And let's actually go back over to Lionel. So when we first equipped the chestful, it was 18 damage. Now it's 21 because he's level 2. So as you can see, it's leveling up with him. Anyway, let's kind of just clear out the rest of this fort and move on to some of the more fun gameplay. I'm not planning on doing this Let's Play for too long, maybe like 45 minutes to an hour at the longest. We were just going to skip through all the cutscenes and stuff. I mostly just wanted to showcase some of the gameplay and the mechanics and give some insight as to why I made certain decisions regarding the gameplay and you know, the development of the game. Alright, they're level 3, which means they can unlock another skill. Let's give Damien skinning, so he can restore HP equal to 10% of all stalking damage. So that means that if he's got stalking active, and he damages an enemy and deals 200 damage to them, he'll restore 20 HP, 10% of 200. Once stalking ends, though, that's it. This synergizes very well with his later skills, but for now, it's just kind of a nice little top-up. It's nothing fancy, though. 10% accuracy while aura is active, or 10% evasion. Let's give him the accuracy. Oh, so no, Lionel has that little skull here. That means that he's got weak status. Weak status actually means that he will take double damage from all sources right now. So I'm going to use this weak herb we found earlier, which cures it, and grants him resistance to it for several turns. And I think that's good. Still haven't found any good armors or anything. Oh, and we're level 3, so we can use this Fierce Katana now. Fierce just means it gets a bit of a damage bonus, but that's factored into the stats of the weapon. Let's just finish that guy off. There we go. Lionel's got his overdrive, so does Damien. Sweet. I might actually save those, because there is a boss fight coming up. Let's open this chest. A sword, that's actually a decent sword. The accuracy is kind of garbage, but it's not terrible, honestly. And then a healthy cape and a shield. Now the healthy cape, that's going straight to Lionel, because it gives, as you can see here, bonus HP. So right now Lionel has 210 HP. This will give him a bonus 15%. And now he's got 240 HP. Let's see here, what else? And this shield, yeah, let's give him the shield as well. Yeah, the chestful still probably his best weapon, except for maybe that sword, but I think I'm going to give that to Damien instead. Yeah, 3% less accuracy for 3 more damage, it's worth it. Alright, let's take on this guy. Let's use theft. Boom. 141 damage, that's pretty good. And we get a short sword, which is garbage, but it sells. Okay, now our inventory's full, so let's put an item away. And the way I like to do this is I just look at the sell value. So this is starting equipment, so the sell value is only 1 gold. We'll leave that behind, and we'll take that. And actually, I'm just going to see what do we have for. Let's see, anything that's worth 1 gold, we'll just leave behind. 1, 1, 1, 1. All the armors are worth 1 gold. Okay, so this is all the loot we're going to leave behind. Now, what this does when we hit the escape button, it's going to ask if we want to salvage the remaining loot, and what that does is it breaks down any of the loot that's left behind, based on its rarity, into material components, which is tracked in the bottom right corner over here. So we now have 13 materials, and when we unlock a blacksmith, this will, you can use it as an alternative currency to craft weapons. And basically all it is you choose, do you want to craft a weapon or an armor? You don't get to choose what type, you just weapon or armor, and then you choose the quality. And you can craft everything from common to legendary, but obviously the higher tier costs more materials. And what that's there for is it's a failsafe. Say you go like 3 hours and you never find a legendary weapon, but you now have like 300 materials, well then you can just go and craft one. It's kind of a way, a safety valve for the game to be like, you've spent this long and you haven't had good enough luck to actually come across something good, here you go. Here's a way you can actually just make your own instead of, you know, going another 3 hours without finding anything. Like it's a way to make it so that there's like a finite amount of time that will go before you actually have the ability of getting something really good. Anyway. Okay, so the keep is now clear of all the thralls. They regroup outside the tower, and this is where the decision is made. Who do we leave behind? And whoever you leave behind, you will not get for the rest of the game. You get 3 party members, although you start with 4. I'm going to leave behind Brutus. It doesn't lock it in like entirely. You can still switch before you go in, so you can kind of unequip them or whatever. But I'm going to just kind of leave things as they are, I think. And let's head in. And let's fight our first boss fight. Okay, here we go. Just gonna cruise through. Alright, and here's one of our tutorials as well that actually talks about the HP bar. So as you can see, the HP bar up at the top of the screen here, it's behind the text window, obviously. I'll just cruise through this. So this is the boss's HP bar, and it always appears at the top of the screen at every battle. And the color actually indicates what element they resist. So this is the only thing that isn't really... I haven't been able to figure out a way to implement this with colorblind mode, although the cursor change kind of highlights it as well, so it's not super necessary, but I'd like to find some way to implement this in colorblind mode if I can. But anyway, the color indicates what element they resist. So blue, they resist ice. He's a vampire. You know, not really any... yeah, vampires resist ice, but they are weak to fire. And that's indicated as well by the cursor. So if I select attack, when I'm targeting him, the cursor is shaped like a fireball. That shows that this enemy is weak to fire. You should hit it with fire. If it's just an arrow like that, then there's no weakness or resistance. But if it's a fireball, it's like, okay, I should use a fire attack. I don't have an overdrive ready, so let's just hit him normally. And let's actually... yeah, let's have Damien use stalking. And Mel hit him with a fire burst. Not bad. Let's have Lionel use penetrate. This boss shouldn't be too tough. We're just going to take out the vampire first, and then we'll focus on the... So I don't want to use ice on him, because he's going to resist it. I'll use shock instead. Oh, shoot. Lionel's weakened. Okay, I'm going to trigger Aura just so he doesn't die. Okay, yeah, the new blood is down, so let's take out the vampires. Oh, yeah, that weak status can be a little brutal. Oh, she's frozen, so let's actually leave her alone for a bit, see if we can take out some of the others before she thaws out. Perfect, and now we can finish her off. Nice. And, oh, he didn't drop anything. I wonder if I made a mistake there. No, I think that boss isn't meant to... Bosses do have a flag that gets set to make sure that they always drop some loot. That one must not have that flag. Anyway, they come out and, oh look, their companion's gone. What happened? Oh no, he's in the courtyard being attacked by these weird things. What are these things? Obviously vampires, but... Oh, he's level 99. And he's not moving. Okay, well, Brutus, just punch away at him. There's an interesting gimmick with this guy. Even if you were to do like 1,000,000 damage to him, which is technically possible in this game, not in this fight, but it is possible in this game to do over 1,000,000 damage in one hit, he would instantly regenerate all health. Any damage done to him, he'd instantly regenerate it. There's a way to counteract that, but I'm not going to say what it is, because that would be spoilers. Let's use a power attack. I'm tired of this game, yada yada yada. And then he uses a skill that completely immobilizes you. You cannot move. Again, there's a story context to that. I'm not going to say what it is. Brutus gets knocked out. And they mutter over something, 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 he's got potential. They take him away, and they vanish. Who are these vampires? It's explained in the next cutscene, but I'm not going to. If you want to find out, try the demo. It's available to download. Links in the description. To the game page, not to the download. But the game page has the download. I didn't put a link to a download directly in the description. But anyway. There's a very somber cutscene where it's like, oh, we need to get him back. What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. These cutscenes were actually kind of tough to figure out because I have to do cutscenes from every perspective based on whoever you've left behind. So every time I do a cutscene, I need to do it 4 times. And there's going to be points in this game where the story branches out. Well, I'll do one more thing here. There's going to be a point in this game where the story branches out based on who you left behind. So I need to do whole entire dungeons that you wouldn't necessarily play unless you leave certain characters behind. Anyway, this bookshelf is significant because it actually brings up the guide. And this guide is kind of like it's your help without needing to go to a game page or a web page. And it just kind of goes over all the components of gameplay. From how loot's generated, the rarities, the equipment, and stuff like that. Dungeons difficulty, status ailments, and even a detailed breakdown of every single skill in the game, whether it's an action skill, passive skill, capstone, doesn't even matter. It's a full description with some notes. Like, for example, this notes here, overcome will trigger when enemy attacks this character with an attack that would normally inflict burn, freeze, or seize, but fails to apply the status. This can either be a spell or a physical attack. So all the description just says, grants 10% evasion for 5 turns after resisting a status. The notes will actually go into detail over, like, what does it mean by that, instead of just a one-line description, which I tried to be as concise with the descriptions as possible to fit them into one line, but I also added the guide to make it sure that if you had questions about, like, how does this one skill actually work, you can look into it. And it's for every single skill for every character. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I wanted to show with the guide. And we'll play a bit more. Let's do the first dungeon. And let's stash some loot. We'll stash all these weapons that we found, because we can sell these, but not yet. We don't have a place that we can sell them. So let's do the first dungeon, and then we will be able to do that. So we go to the horse, and we're going to go to the Bloodstone Mine. I'm thinking of adding like a overworld map that has like location plots on them that, have a little animation to actually show you going to them, sort of like the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. But I have not figured out how I want to do that yet, or if I want to. That might just be more work than I want to put into something as simple as just the fast travel. Anyway, we are now in the dungeon, and the dungeons are randomly generated. Ooh, gold! It doesn't take up an item slot, just goes straight into our inventory. The dungeons are randomly generated in a bit of an interesting way. I've talked about this before in some of the other videos, but basically the way it works is that every dungeon has a set of rooms that it can use to construct a dungeon out of. Oh, shoot. Okay, this might be a tough fight right off the bat, but I get to talk about this as well. Okay, I'm going to set the dungeon thing aside for now. I'll talk about that after. What did we find here? I can't believe this is the first random encounter and we come across this. This is an elite enemy. Anybody played Diablo before? You know how you sometimes find those elite enemies with the blue or the purple name, and they've got like these affixes that give them these special abilities, and they're really tough, but they give you lots of experience and some good loot? That's this thing. So elite enemies are these gold enemies that spawn with any normal group of enemies, rare chance. The troops are randomly generated as well, based on the initial troop member. And if an elite spawns, not only is it a tougher version of everything that also has access to all the spells and has a weakening attack, it has an affix, which in this case is deadly, which means that this whole group, not just the elite, but this entire troop, is going to get, I think, a bonus 50% damage, like bonus 50% physical attack and magical attacks. But if you defeat an elite enemy, it will always drop at least one rare quality item or better. It could be a weapon, an armor, or a consumable. Let's see if we can actually take these guys down. We're fortunate in that this is the first encounter and we are in good health, but this could be tough. Because snakes already deal massive damage, so giving them a damage buff just makes these guys way tougher. I'm going to use Theft and see if I can wipe out this ice snake before it can hit us. Perfect, okay, and that'll give us even more loot from this encounter once it's done. I'm going to try to freeze this snake, which actually worked, which is fantastic. They typically get some status resistance, but it managed to pay off this time. Let's try to use Stalking to negate that snake's attack if he targets Damien, which he did not, but that's okay. Let's use... Oh, I'm tempted to use Shield. No, we're already most way through this encounter, so let's just finish them off. And can I trigger Aura before he gets an attack? And I don't think so. Let's just finish him. There we go. And just like that, Lionel's level 4, everyone's level 4, and we get this from the thing we hit with Theft, and a Versed Ribbon, which gives us some weak element resistance, weak status resistance, some decent stats, actually. I think I'll give that to Damien. And bonus XP, which means that anytime you finish a battle, the person with this equipped will get an extra 15% experience. That's awesome. All right. A torch, we'll need that later probably. Okay, so this is the way to the next floor, but I kind of want to see if we can find some chests. So let's do a loop of the floor before we go off. Go and find chests. Oh, that's not bad, actually. I'll hang on to that. 1 second here. Nice. I'm just going to walk away from him. Ah! Are you kidding me? No! No, no, no! Okay. Oh, I hate these elite snakes. They're actually a little vicious. And this one's going to be even worse, because the explosive effects means that whenever you kill an enemy in this troop, every single one of your party members will take damage equal to 10% of their max HP. So for Mel and Damien, who have 250 HP, they'll take 25 damage every time I kill an enemy, except for the last one. And because, of course, they generate with 4 enemies, why wouldn't they generate with only 2? Yeah, this could be rough. Let's immediately shield. Yeah, so with shield we won't take any damage. And oh man, okay, I think I'm going to target the fire snakes first. Try to reduce the amount of attacks that can go off. Oh, this shield is saving me right now. Oh shoot, I didn't realize that. Okay, yeah, so the shield doesn't actually just negates damage, it doesn't negate status ailment application. I should have known that, but I made the bloody game. And shield's worn off now, so we're gonna have to be pretty careful. I'm gonna have Lionel trigger Aura, try to get some health back. And I'm going to, instead of Fire Burst, I'm actually going to Power Attack. I should have Fire Burst. I'm using a common weapon. It's not like I'm... Okay, that's fine. We'll just take this guy out as best we can. No! Don't freeze Mel! Okay, good, good. You know what? Yeah, let's use Theft just to get a little bit of extra loot. You never know when it's with the elites if it's going to be good or not. Okay, so that's pretty garbage, but this is decent. Cationic ring, 8 defense. That's, yeah, nobody's got a good accessory right now. It's all just starting equipment. And decent stats and some shock resist. Let's take that. And then let's actually see what we have for loot. I think, you know, I'm going to give this ring to Mel, because now she resists all 3 elements. And C's resisting is especially useful for her, because she uses action skills a lot. What else? I'm really tempted to give her this rapier, but that ice element could be really useful, so I don't know if I actually want to... Oh, yeah, the Chastaful's still doing pretty good, so it's kind of between Mel and Damien. Yeah, Damien's sword is better than this one. I don't think I want to get rid of that ice element yet, so I'm going to keep it the way it is for now. I'm going to heal up Mel a little bit. And, everyone's got 1 skill point. I need 3 to unlock the next skill. Anyway, I went off on... Okay, I got into a bunch of tough encounters and had to change gears there, but dungeons. They are actually randomly generated. Okay, come on, chase me, chase me. I'm gonna get trapped now. Oh! Yeah, no, I'm trapped. I can't go that way. There's a slime. Chase me. Oh, good, okay. I can sneak by. Ah, no, no! Okay, at least it's not an elite this time. Jeepers. I can't believe we got 2 elites in a row. That's just insane. Stalking, like, can I negate an attack or 2? Oh, no. Nope. Just no. Okay. I froze that guy. I took him out. See, this is why I wanted to keep that ice element, because now this snake is frozen, and I was able to take out that party without taking the extra hit from him. Anyway, the dungeons are randomly generated, and the way that works is that this is a 5-floor dungeon. As you can see, we're on floor 2 now. And so this dungeon has 15 maps, 15 rooms that it can use to construct a dungeon with. And when it does that, what it does is it takes 5 rooms at random out of that 15, puts them in a random order, and it actually doesn't do that right at the start. It does that as you go through the dungeon, so you never know. It's not like it's oh, the next floor is always going to be this. It determines it when you go to the next floor what the next one will be. And then it takes, it places the exit for that floor in a random location. Not random, but one of 4 predetermined locations. And that randomly determines what enemies you're going to be fighting on that floor and what chests are going to generate. Does Damien? I'm going to give Damien that buckler. There we go. And so in that sense, they are randomly generated, but they're not procedurally generated. We haven't really found any good chests. I'd really like to find at least one, but I also really want to avoid more snakes if we can. Slimes and thralls and bats, not really a problem, but I don't really want to face a ton of snakes. Here's a thrall. Let's face him. So yeah, it's not procedural generation like Diablo or the Mystery Dungeon series, but it is random. But because I was able to create the dungeon in this particular style, yeah, it's not procedural. It's not going to be quite as amazingly complex as a procedural generation. What it does is that it allows me to use parallax mapping to create random dungeons, which is something I haven't really seen done before. I mean, granted, that's a term that's typically used to describe games made with RPG Maker, but not always. But because of that, I actually get to put a lot of detail into my maps. That cudgel is surprisingly strong. Although, that knife is only 1 less damage and it gives bonus crit. I'm going to use the knife instead. And is the cudgel worth? No, still not really. Especially because if I really wanted to, I could actually unlock skills that grant bonus damage with those, but I'm not going to because I'm not expecting to keep this loot for too long. Oh, here's a good chest. Anything with the gold trim actually has decent stuff. Nice! Okay. Well, this mace is definitely worth replacing that ice element for. 37 damage, that's... Oh yeah, no, we'll take that. Okay, this buckler is really good. It's an agile buckler, though. I think I'm going to give that to Damien, because it's going to have decent evasion as compared to other shields. That's not bad. 3 more defense or fire resistance? I think fire resistance. There we go. But yeah, it allows me to have a more detailed mapping style without actually, while still having random dungeon generation. I'm going to save theft for now. Actually, I'm just going to... These guys are just common slimes. They don't have any elements. They don't have any... Holy smokes, Mel, that was a ton of damage. Yeah, they don't have any elements. They're not elites, so I'll just wipe them out with attacks. Oh, there's the exit. Can we find one more chest before we go through there? What floor are we on? Floor 3. That's... Oh, there's one here. There's a snake on the bridge. Whoa. That's pretty powerful. Okay, so that rod, is that better than the chastful? It is, by quite a bit, actually. Now, is the chastful better than the knife? A little bit. A little bit. Yeah, let's use it. Oh, I didn't even equip that armor. Let's see here, 2620. I'm going to give Damien these gauntlets. Okay, so this potent armor also gives bonus HP. Oh, I can't equip it, it's level 6. Also gives bonus HP. And ice resist. So I think once Lionel hits level 6, I'll give that to him, and then I'll give the healthy cape to somebody else. Or maybe not. I mean, I might just sell the cape. We're a little ways away from level 6. Okay. I'm going to use theft against one of these guys because I don't want to deal with snakes. They're painful. Use an ice burst on this one, just take him out. So the way burst works is that nobody here actually has a magic stat. They have a... Ooh, light sword. Oh, that's kind of garbage. I'll take it, but yeah. Nobody here has a magic stat. They've got a resistance stat. Enemies have a magic stat. Enemies actually don't have a resistance stat. The way that burst works is that it actually takes its damage from the damage stat of the weapon that you have equipped. So Mel has 37 damage right now. That means that burst gets that as its damage. But burst also has the added benefit... Jeepers wire, there's so many snakes. Burst has the added benefit of ignoring defense. So it will typically deal quite a bit more damage. And because I also have points into her augmented skill... Oh, can Damien one-shot one of these? Maybe, let's find out. Not quite. Shoot, I'm going to take a hit from the ice one. Ah, and he froze him. I want to invigorate, but I don't think Mel can survive another hit, so I'm just going to wipe out these guys and hope that that one doesn't target. Oh no! Okay. Shoot. Yeah, Mel's going to trail behind a bit. Did I use... No, I did that on the last one. Okay, I'll give her this grape, and hopefully I can get some better healing items before then. Oh, there's another one. Perfect. I'll use that on her right now. What was I talking about? Something dark side. Oh, these guys are okay. That's easy enough. Bats are weak. They hit hard, but they have like practically no health, so they're easy to take on. Weak herb club. Yeah. My backpack's getting pretty full though. Pretty soon I'm gonna have to start trading stuff out. Oh my gosh, why is it so many? I've tested this many times before, and I don't usually get this many encounters. This is a little bonkers. It's not that I don't get this many encounters, it's that I don't typically get this many enemies in a troop this consistently. It's usually 1, 2, sometimes 3, and rarely 4. And I feel like we've faced more groups of 4 enemies than not. I don't know, maybe it just feels that way. Oh, level 6, okay. Mel is not, but that's okay. Lionel can now use this potent armor, so he's going to get less evasion, but good defense and resistance, and because this has decent resistance, that could be a good replacement for his cloak. It's 4 less evasion, sorry, evasion, not resistance. 4 less evasion, 2 more defense, but that bonus HP makes up for it. And Mel, you can keep your insulated cape. Do I have a level 6 weapon? I don't think so. No, not yet. Okay. Oh, but now that we're level 6, I can unlock the mid-tier skill. So Aura now will instantly heal 1/3 of Lionel's max HP, in addition to granting him HP regen per turn. As for Damien, overkill. So overkill damage with stalking will be applied to the next hit. That's a bit of a strategic skill, but I'm going to show you how it works. Mel is not level 6 yet, so I need to wait for her to... Oh, come on. No! Oh, for crying out loud. Let's try something. I'm going to use an ice bomb to try and freeze that guy, and I succeeded. Good. Okay. Mel, you can shock burst one of these guys because they're weak to shock. And Damien, you are going to use a shock bomb on this guy. Didn't quite wipe him out in one hit, but that would have been great if he did. Oh, okay, it's a good thing I've got weak herbs because these guys are not being nice. Good. Let's just use an ice burst on you. Finish you off, and then Damien. Oh, I don't want to take another hit from him, so I'm just going to take him out. Mel is level 6. Perfect. Okay. While I'm at it, let's use a weak herb on Damien. Boom. There we go. Mel, her mid-tier skill, restores HP when damaging an enemy with burst. So whenever I deal in damage with either shock burst, ice burst, or fire burst, I will restore, I think it's 10% of that damage dealt. So if I deal 300 damage, Mel will heal 30 HP. Hopefully that can keep her topped up. The fact that she gained a level means that she got a lot of her health back. They restore half their HP on each level up, so that helps with her sustainability and keeping her alive. Tranquil Flower. You know what? I'm going to hang on to that for the next floor, because that could come in handy. We'll save... Oh, you know what? No, we're about to change floors, so I'm not going to use it yet. Oh, yes, there's a chest. Sweet. I was hoping, but I wasn't sure. Torch, Agile Boots. That's... I might give that to Damien over the gauntlets, because it's got really good evasion, and then I'll give the gauntlets to Lionel. So I'll take that, and that's a decent short sword. 38 damage? 38 damage, level 5 short sword. Let's see who can use that. It's not really any better there. Is it better than this? It does do more damage. I think I'll give Mel the short sword, because accuracy doesn't matter as much for her when she uses burst, because burst doesn't miss. And then this mace, I might give that to Lionel. Yeah, no, it's only 1 more accuracy for 2 less damage. Not worth it. But those boots, I'll give Damien those boots. He's got 26 evasion now, that's pretty sweet. And I'll give you those gauntlets. I know everybody's got accessories. I think everybody has replaced their starting equipment. That's awesome. Alright. I think we're on floor 5 now. Yes, okay, this is the last floor before the boss. Oh! Okay, at least it's a bat. Bats are not as tough, but he also has a regen thing, which means that they'll all regenerate health. They don't get bonus health, fortunately. And this is where I'll get to demonstrate overkill. So I'm going to have Damien stalk. Mel take out the... Of course. Oh, nice, and they were targeting Damien. Okay, Mel, take out the Ice Bat. Nice. Now, Damien, use Theft and deal as much damage as you possibly can to one enemy, and any overkill damage will be stored, and I'll show you what that means. So Damien just did 242 damage. These bats only have like 60 health or whatever, so they're probably going to... So I just stored about 180 damage as overkill, and because I have overkill, it'll be applied to the next hit. So Damien's normal attacks deal like, what, 120 damage? And he just did 243 in one hit with that attack. So that's the power of overkill. That's good on its own. It gets so much worse. It's so gross at higher levels with more skills. Damien is quite literally the most broken character in the game. But he's also the squishiest. Anyway, an incombustible cloak. Ooh, that's a nice cloak. I can use it right now too, it's level 6. Yeah, I'll take that shield. Okay, so I got that kind of blue front shield and that cloak. Let me just see. More damage, more resistance, less evasion. Yeah, it works for me. Everybody's kind of got pretty good stuff. I don't think it's really worth getting rid of the fire resist, just for the little bit of extra stats that I can get from other things. Such as this cloak, which I think I'm going to give to Mel. Which, yeah, I would lose that ice resist, but I get even more fire resist, so that's nice. And those... Hold on a sec. Or I could give it to Damien and give me even more evasion. Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll give Mel the healthy cape. No, she doesn't need bonus HP. I'll just sell the cape. There we go, okay. I was really hoping we'd find like a good rare quality weapon or better on this run through the dungeon, but we might need to wait till we get to a shop for that. We'll see. Chase me. Oh no. I was trying to dodge that. Yeah, so his normal attacks only do 74 damage, so the fact that he did 240 in one attack means that he had a lot of overkill damage stored up from killing that bat. Okay, oh, there's the exit. Is there one more chest that we can find? Maybe, maybe not. No, don't. I don't really want to get into any more encounters right now. I'm good with what I've got. Is there one up here? Maybe, maybe not. No, I think that's it. Okay, well, through here is the boss. Oh, you know what? Let's just use these. I'll use the Death Bloom, and then I'll use a Tranquil Flower, and now nothing will chase me. Yoo-hoo! I'm right here. Chase me, come on. They can't, because I've calmed them. The Death Blooms will prevent minions and thralls from attacking, and the Tranquil Flower will prevent monsters and animals from attacking. Don't come this way. Good, thank you. And now I can explore the remainder of this floor at my leisure. And that was kind of a waste. I was really hoping there was a chest hidden somewhere that I didn't see, and there wasn't, so that was a waste. Lionel is a little low on health, but he can use Aura at the start of the battle, so let's just proceed to the next floor. And here we go. We're in the boss room. I think we'll be able to take on this boss without too much difficulty. It's not that tough, and, well, we're doing okay. I do kind of wish we had some better weapons, but that's okay. Alright, here's that spider. The gimmick with this boss is that it will switch elements as you fight it. Oh, let's use Aura right away. There we go. He instantly restores some health and gets a health regen. Nice. So yeah, the gimmick with this boss is that as you damage it, he's going to go for the elemental ore and change elements. So now, it's a fire spider. Let's use this ice bomb on him. And sweet, it actually froze him. I wasn't expecting it to, but That's awesome. We'll use Ice Burst. I've got some time to think because he's frozen, so I'm going to fill everybody's gauges here. Let's attack him. Let's Invigorate on Mel, get her action skills back, and then let's just attack. Oh, now it's Ice Element, so let's use Fire Burst. Nice. And, oh, Mel's frozen. Shoot, do I have an Ice Berry? No, I don't. Ah, okay. Let's use Theft. Deal a little bit of damage, guarantee a drop. He's already guaranteed a drop because he's a boss, but he may be able to guarantee more drops. Okay, so this is a Shock Spider. He's susceptible to weak status, so let's use this weak bomb on him. Nice. And now every attack will deal double damage until weak wears off. With any luck, it should help take him out pretty quick here. Oh no, Mel is seized. She can't use her burst attacks. Shoot, okay. It doesn't really matter. This guy's almost done. We'll use Crush. Just attack. Still can't. Okay, just let Lionel. Nice. Still seized. Okay, shoot. Alright, just attack then, I guess. Yeah, finish him off. Can you? Perfect. Alright, finish him off with the Shock Burst. Done. Boss is dead. And we get some good loot. Ooh! Okay, the mace. Meh. Oh, I'm at. My backpack's full. That trident looks good. That could be. Oh, yeah. That'll be way better for Mel. Lucky Shield gives half crit. That's nice. Might be better than that Fireproof Buckler. Oh, but that Tough Buckler's got some good stats, too. I think I'll give that to Lionel, and then I'll give Mel the Lucky Shield. Oh, my armor's full, too. Okay, so the Heavy Trident. Let's see, what's my lowest value item? 42? 40? 38. 38 and 40. So I'll give those back and take those. And then for these, under armors, it's 1 gold, perfect. And now this is technically an epic rarity item. It's a purple rarity item, completely fills overdrive gauge. It's a one-use item, usable only in battle, but when you use it well, it can be really handy. We're not really going to get to see it because this Let's Play is just about done. I just wanted to play to the first boss and maybe showcase a little bit of the stuff around the keep before we close this off, but yeah. Dialogue, cutscene. Warp back to the keep, cutscene. Chatting, talk. Things are bad, we need to make them not bad. What? I'm confused. Oh, I'm surprised. Oh, we're very surprised. Who's this guy? He's a guy. He's here to stay. What's his name? It's Soldier. He's generic NPC. He gets no name. But he's part of the crew now, so he hangs out around the keep. And then he convinces more people to hang out around the keep. Okay, here we go. We're back. And yeah, that's it. That's the first dungeon, up to the first boss. I do have the next dungeon complete as well, but I'm not going to showcase it because I want to, leave that for the full release. But Aleston is completed. The Lyre Forest is almost complete. Jagged Lagoon I haven't even started yet, but that shouldn't take long because it's actually a bit of a different format than the typical dungeon crawl. I'm not going to go into any more detail than that, though, because I want you to play the game when it's released. Let's see one more thing here. So let's go back into the keep here. Now that we've met Davenport and Emily, they hang out in here, and if we talk to Davenport, we got a shop. Oh! We have a shop. with really good stuff right off the bat. What the heck? Okay, so let me check Emily's shop. Are you kidding me? Holy smokes. Okay. So the way shops normally work. Wow. Okay. The way shops normally work is that the first two items that generate are blue rarity or above. The next four items are green rarity above, and then the last four items are white rarity or above. These blue rarity items that generate have a 10% chance of being purple rarity, which is one step above. So this only had a 10% chance of spawning in this shop. And this is a legendary that had a 1% chance of generating in this shop. This is the Saitama. This is quite literally probably my favorite legendary in the entire game. One punch! It's a weapon that is, it's a dagger. If you're targeting an enemy that has full HP, you will get a guaranteed critical hit with this weapon. That's its special ability. That, like, it's, yeah, if you're targeting an enemy with full HP, it's a guaranteed critical hit. Anything after that, it's based on the crit chance of the weapon and the character, but that's its special effect. You get a guaranteed crit against enemies with full HP. It's also more than 7,000 gold, so there's no way I can afford this right now unless I grind out blackjack, which I don't really want to do right now, but I might just to show you how this does work, but I'm not going to do it on record. I'll pause and then I might just do that. But what I'm going to do first is sell. Oh, hold on. Let me. Did I find a good thing? I found a good thing. What was the good thing that I found? The heavy trident. That's what it is. I'm going to give that to Mel. Mel has the heavy trident now. There we go. I don't think. Yes, and then let's give you the. Wait, did I mean to do that? I don't know. Okay, let's give you the tough buckler. Okay, so now let's sell all our stuff to Davenport. We've got about 600 gold now. Let's go to Emily. Let's sell all this stuff. So I mentioned earlier how you can buff your thorns damage up to like 70% if you get the right piece of armor. This is that piece of armor. It's a legendary robe. It's got very low defense but very, very high resistance. It's always thorns. And its special effect is that instead of a 10% thorns accessory, it gives 20% thorns damage. I'm amazed that this happened to appear as I was talking about it. And again, this had a 1% chance of generating. Holy smokes. Jeepers. Okay, that's insane. Just for context, in all the times I've tested this game, I've found maybe 3 or 4 legendary weapons in the shop when I wasn't forcing the game to generate them, which I'm not right now. I can do that. I'm not right now. So this is the fact that there's 2 legendaries, one in each of the shops, on the very time that I happen to be recording this Let's Play with developer commentary is actually pretty incredible. That's, oh man, okay. So those are the shops. I'm gonna find a way to. Okay, I'm just gonna do something here. I'm gonna pause the recording. I'll be right back. Oh my god, this took way too long. But okay, yeah. I have enough. Okay. So yeah, I went into this menu and I changed this variable to 6, which populated this entire keep full of soldiers. Not any other members that you can recruit, just the soldiers. And this guy here offers to play blackjack with you, and you can wager 1 to 1,000 gold and win double your bet if you win. And I just grinded out 10,000 gold just to do this. Oh yes. Oh yeah. Oh, it's level 7. Everyone's level 6. But that's level 6. I can... No! I just went back and grinded a bit more. Yay! Okay, here we go. Now I've got it. I really want to show what this does because it's actually so cool. This, I'm not as keen, but I mean, it's still really freaking cool that we've got a legendary armor. And this is one of the biggest reasons as to why the locker exists. Because that armor literally only had a 1% chance of showing up in the shop. And if I put it in the locker, I could extract it from a different save file and use it on that save file. I would obviously use it on this one until it's under-leveled and I can't use it anymore, and then on the next save file it would just be like, whoop, here you go. But yeah, so I'm going to throw this on, and now I'm actually going to go grind out 1 level just to show you how this dagger works, because it's so cool. I love this dagger. I'll be back in a bit. Guess who's level 7? Okay. This is our first legendary weapon. This is the Saitama. Take a wild guess what it's a reference to. That's some pretty hefty damage. That's awesome. And a 10% crit as well. That's awesome. Now here's the beautiful thing. Damien just gained a level, and Damien gets proficiency with daggers. So I'm actually going to use this and give him an additional 20% damage, so that even though the item card says 49, he actually has 58 as his damage stat. And now we're gonna show what this weapon does, cause it's pretty darn fine. So this enemy has full health, guaranteed critical hit. How about this guy? This guy's, no, he doesn't have full health anymore because he took some thorns damage. But he still got a critical hit, but that was more probably just because Damien has really high critical hit chance right now. Guaranteed critical hit. Let's try it against somebody that's not at full health. It still gets a critical hit. I know it's not guaranteed all the time, I promise. Oh, I kind of want to show at least 1 hit against an enemy that's not at full health, that's also not a critical, just to show that I didn't screw up my code. I promise, I swear I didn't. Oh yeah, and that's another thing. Legendary weapons get their own unique overdrive. I'm going to do a little bit of a thing. I'm going to use stalking. I am going to then use this overdrive on an enemy that has full health, which should be a guaranteed critical hit, and it should store the overkill damage. 1200 damage. That's... oh, that's... yeah. The vast majority of that was stored as overkill damage. So let's see how much damage just his normal next attack does. Keeping in mind it will probably be a critical hit, because this guy has full health. 600! That would have been his normal attack, tripled, because it's critical, so let's say like 80 times 3 plus the overkill damage. That's actually surprisingly less than what I thought. I was expecting that to be more, but it doesn't really matter. It's... there we go. There's a normal attack that's not a critical hit. 181, actually. That's pretty darn good. I may have actually done something off with the overkill, but it's okay. Yeah, so that is a legendary Saitama. I'm so happy we found a legendary weapon on a developer commentary Let's Play. I was not expecting that to happen, but I'm so glad it did. Yeah. So those are legendary weapons. Oh, of course, yeah, she's got the prince. Of course they're taking thorns damage. But yeah, that is... oh, I'm happy with that. Okay, and I'm actually happy leaving this off right here. I showcased pretty much everything I wanted to, gave commentary on pretty much everything I wanted to. I don't want this to go any longer, so I'm pretty much just going to end this now. But yeah, that is basically everything that's available in the demo for Thrall, and it's available to download right now. Link to the gameplay. Blah, 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 blah. I know how to say words. Link to the game page is in the description. And yeah, follow the development. This game's actually turning out to be a lot of fun to make. So far, everyone that I've had test play it has said that they've really liked it, except for, you know, a couple of the early test players that were like, oh, this is garbage, because I made way too much inventory management and not nearly enough just fun gameplay. But I've addressed a lot of the issues from those early game testers, and it's actually turning out to be not only an awesome creative project for me to work on, and just a ton of fun to work on, but actually just a generally fun game to play. So try it out if you're so inclined. Feel free to leave whatever feedback you want. I'm absolutely open to whatever feedback anybody's got. Doesn't mean I'm going to implement it all, but I will take everything into consideration. Some things are just the way they are because there's a reason, but at the same time, if there's something that's maybe a glaring issue that somebody sees that can be addressed, I will absolutely address it. So with that, that's the end of this video, and I will see you next time.